From the oceans of the South China Sea to the oceans of space, Chinese aggression is in your face. And we're going to cover both right here and now in this place. Chinese ships just unleashed high pressure water cannon blast on a Philippine government vessel right by the Scarborough Shoal, a hotspot of territorial tension. This was no isolated splash, it was a fierce 30-minute standoff that left sailors injured and vessels damaged. It's a brazen, wet war. Is this the new normal in the South China Sea? Will Manila stand firm or be forced to back down in this escalating maritime showdown? Is China's aggressive play signaling a dangerous new phase of maritime coercion, risking regional calamity? This bat isn't just about ships, it's a loud alarm for every coastal nation and fisherman relying on these contested waters. Let's unpack this turmoil and see what it means for sovereignty and survival at sea. On the 16th of September 25, at least four Chinese vessels, including a frigate and three patrol boats, confronted the Philippine BFAR BRP Detugumbi Piang. Now, BFAR is Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, and BRP, you'll hear these acronyms, stand as the way of the Philippines saying the Philippines National Navy. Anyway, they encountered a ship about 14 nautical miles east of the Scarborough Shoal. Now, mind you, the Scarborough Shoal is well within the Philippine exclusive economic zone. It is declared by long-time tradition, maritime tradition, and codified in the law of the sea treaty signed by China too. So, and they're east of it, which means they're on the Philippine side. So, yeah, well in the Philippine waters. Anyway, about 30-minute encounter saw water cannons unleashed on both the port and starboard side of this Chinese ship from all these four vessels around it, four Chinese vessels. Anyway, shattering a window on the Philippine ship bridge and injuring a crew member with glass lacerations. You get one right there and you're down doing the funky chicken, guys. This is not trivial. The risk in life, and many have had serious injuries in these kind of incidents. The BFAR vessel was on a mission to supply local fishermen who also suffered, this vessel did, damage to its air conditioning units and the captain's cabin. China alleged illegal activities and claimed the Philippine vessel rammed one of its ships. They claimed that Manila denies amid video evidence from both sides. Makes you think of all the times the Chinese ships rammed the Philippine Coast Guard ships and attacked them with water cannons while they were trying to resupply the BRP Sierra Madre on the second Thomas Shoal. Either China wants these fishermen and sailors to starve, or maybe buy Chinese takeout instead. Oh, could you imagine eating 3 meals a day of Chinese takeout day in and day out? Well, hey, I declare war. Oh, it's bigger than that, unfortunately. China won't be pleased until it seizes the seas. Anyway, the Philippine Coast Guard and BFAR, which again is Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, condemned the hostile actions, vowing to uphold maritime rights and protect their fishermen despite the aggression. This incident follows earlier clashes, including the June 24 collision that severely injured a Philippine Navy SEAL. The U.S. swiftly condemned China's dangerous and unlawful actions, reaffirming mutual defense treaty support. Now remember, we do have a treaty with the Philippines, an out-and-out treaty, and we got a treaty with Japan also. Diplomatic warnings and joint patrols of allies ramp up in the region, edging toward confrontation. Now, here's another thing. China just recently tried to declare a big part of the South China Sea, including areas within the exclusive economic zone of all these other countries there, as a protected environment, like a park, you know. So yeah, like, oh, no fishing here, no nothing. This is a protected environment. Nobody can do anything here. Well, naturally, the Philippines protested that because it was their waters to a large part, and China's move is very hollow. China's expansive claims and island building have wreaked havoc on marine ecosystems, destroying over 40,000 acres of coral reefs through dredging and reclamation. Yeah, they took the best estuaries in the South China Sea and wrecked them to build what they claimed was going to be islands, which you originally said they weren't going to militarize, and every one of them became, a naval base, naval air base, like an unsinkable aircraft carrier. But it shows how much they really care about the environment. That and their deep dredging fishing exercise they do with the industrial shipping boats that they put out, fishing boats. Anyway, the Permanent Court of Arbitration at The Hague in 2016 had a ruling that condemned such practices, reaffirming the Philippines' rights to their exclusive economic zone around the Philippines, and established in the Lawless Sea Treaty. This again, which I said China signed, but China dismissed it, continuing aggressive activities. Oh, we signed the treaty. So what? Make us. Despite, you want to do a treaty with China, see what you get? Oh, yeah. What happened on the Hong Kong? That treaty? How long they were supposed to be independent? Yeah. China only abides by treaties when it serves their purposes. So watch out. Despite China's environmental policies and proposed maritime reserves, satellite and independent reports reveal extensive coral damage and overfishing, worsening biodiversity losses. So conservation efforts are often viewed as strategic cover for consolidating territorial claims rather than genuine ecological protection. Oh yeah. Well, maybe we ain't going to develop this right now. We're going to focus over here, but we don't want you playing in our little sandbox that we're stealing from you right here. That's about what it boils down to. Anyway, well, so we have regional flashpoints and wider China challenges here. The Scarborough Shoals incident is the latest in a series of tense encounters across the South China Sea, East China Sea, and Taiwan Strait. China's militarized maritime patrols, fishing militias, oh yeah, their fishing boats are like, yeah, they're like Coast Guard boats, and live fire drills increase the risk of miscalculation with the Philippines, Vietnam, Japan, Taiwan, and many others in the area. Neighboring countries strengthen ties with allies like the U.S., Australia, and Japan, conducting joint exercises to counterbalance China's assertiveness. Meanwhile, land border tensions with India and economic pressures on countries like Australia reveal the broader pattern of Chinese coercion. Yeah, big bullies. Guys, another form of conversion, an economic warfare that China is conducting on the United States, is to try to devalue the dollar. In fact, they're trying to force us into an economic bad spot by just destroying our dollar and taking it off the world's reserve currency list. That is what they're trying to do. They want the yuan to be the world's reserve currency. Well, that might be a little tough to get the yuan there, but they definitely want to take the dollar down because that is what is the economic foundation for the United States of America. And we're watching the dollar drop. We're watching gold go up. So if you want to find a good deal on gold, I suggest you go to defythegrid.com. They can be below. And they got a little guarantee that you can find a better price somewhere else, they'll meet it or beat it. Nobody else does that. It's because they operate on like 3 to 4% margins. And all of that, they'll give you 1% back if you use the discount code Green Gregs. You can buy gold, silver, rounds, bullion, platinum, you name it there, palladium. And the cool thing I like is these little gold backs. This is 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold, which means I can use this to barter for for low-cost things like bread and eggs. So yeah, again, defythegrid.com, discount code GreenGregs. You won't find a better deal anywhere else, and you get a little bit off if you use that discount code GreenGregs. Anyway, so let's talk about a ticking time bomb. Are we going into peace or escalation? Each standoff tightens the regional noose. One accident could escalate beyond control. The Philippines continues to highlight the 2016 International Tribune ruling at The Hague, affirming its maritime rights, while China rejects it outright. What, you want us to play fair? You want us to abide by rules? No, only the rules we make. The U.S. and its partners face tough choices: bolster allies, or risk confrontation, or push for economic de-escalation. Yeah, like signing another treaty that China won't abide by. Anyway, the clock is ticking on the fragile peace and one of the world's most crucial maritime domains. The sea is a third of the world's trade flowing through it, a sea that sustains the livelihoods of 3.7 million directly employed in fisheries and millions more indirectly through through processing the fish, transport, market trade, and such. Loss of access to the South China Sea would be catastrophic to the Philippines and 5 other nations that also have economic exclusive zones there. We're talking about countries such as Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Taiwan. Quite a few countries around there are totally reliant on the sea, which China is claiming for their own. So way outside what is the normal tradition for maritime claims, way outside. So this is seizing a huge territory, the sea. Anyway, so what should Manila do now? Push harder against Chinese maritime bullying or find a diplomatic middle ground? Would you back a tougher armed response if your fishermen's livelihoods were on line, your nation's economic well-being, survival maybe? Share your thoughts. We want to hear the real talk on this boiling sea dispute. The Scarborough standoff isn't just a regional squabble, it's a wake-up call for all of us watching disputed waters turn hot. Talk about turning hot. Let's think about orbit. Let's talk about space. Are we looking at a new era of space surveillance, space wars? China just rolled out a stunning high-def image, several images, in fact, of a U.S. satellite, U.S. surveillance satellite, captured by one of its own satellites orbiting hundreds of kilometers above Earth. This is no friendly snapshot. It's a blunt signal in an escalating cosmic game of cat and mouse between superpowers. Are space-based spy wars a new frontier in the great power rivalry? Will Washington escalate with countermeasures or seek new space norms? Could this orbital tit-for-tat spiral toward dangerous anti-satellite tests threatening all space users or actual anti-satellite battles? This battle space for space dominance is rewriting military intelligence and global security. Your GPS communications and satellites are suddenly in the crosshairs. Imagine navigating around without your GPS. I know a lot of young people be lost without this. But anyway, these photos reveal solar panels and structural details at sub-meter resolution. Yeah, they were taken on the 13th of September, 2025 by China's commercial Jilin-1 satellite. Got orbital details on our U.S. Worldview Legion surveillance satellite in low Earth orbit. So this high resolution is a technological leap showcasing China's advanced optical capabilities. For the first time, Beijing publicly released such images, flexing space reconnaissance muscle and psychological warfare savvy. Anyway, this space deal follows the U.S. July 2025 release of images tracking China's Shenzhen 26 satellite and the Tiangong space station. Tiangong. Well, Chinese words are funny. Illustrating mutual surveillance and raising mistrust. Tensions have mounted since near collisions involving Starlink and their Tiangong space station. Starlink satellite and the Tiangong space station. So both sides are accusing the other of militarizing space and threatening assets. China's rapid satellite constellation growth, launching over 400 satellites in 2 years, is challenging U.S. dominance as both rush to build persistent intelligence networks in orbit. So analysts warn this orbital I spy raises stakes. Passive imaging may give way to jamming, cyber attacks, or anti-satellite weapons tests, or maybe use. Like China's 2007 satellite kill, which put a bunch of debris in orbit, which threatens all the satellites. They made a mess up there with that test. Let's hope there's no more. You need to hear about the Kessler limit, where this stuff has a chain reaction and denies everybody access to space. Yeah, this is crucial. China's already hacked about everything on the ground. Maybe space is next. Thousands of satellites crowding low Earth orbit risk collisions, producing dangerous debris, threatening all spacefaring nations, like that limit I just told you about. Space-based assets underpin missile targeting, navigation, and communication, all critical to U.S. military dominance. That's what China knows, so they're looking for our weak Achilles heel, and space is part of it. Anyway, a future conflict in Taiwan or South China Sea could begin with blinding opponent satellites. That may be the first, we just lost a satellite. What happened? Then our grid goes down. Yeah, but anyway, there are broader geopolitical ramifications. Allies such as Japan and Australia are heightening space surveillance efforts with international talks on space norms, and those talks remain stalled, largely due to the U.S.-China rivalry. And you want to get in a talk with China and get them to agree to a treaty or something? Yeah, a lot of good that'll do. We just talked about that, right? The public display of space spying technology serves both as a deterrent and a provocation, deepening the great power competition from Earth's surface into orbit. Monitoring official signals from the U.S. Space Force and China's PLA, People's Liberation Army Aerospace Force, becomes critical in this evolving space chess match. I hope we're not playing checkers and we're playing chess. Anyway, so what about the future of space security, looking beyond all this? With no kinetic conflict yet, the message is clear. Space is no longer a peaceful frontier, but a contested domain. The challenge for global powers is balancing reconnaissance with restraint to avoid triggering a destructive arms race that endangers us all. And I think we're probably already there. As China and the U.S. expand their space arsenals, the world watches, caught between these breakthroughs in technology and the peril of war beyond Earth. Do you think space should be off limits for spying and militarization? How would you accomplish that? Or is this just the nature of superpower competition? How should the U.S. and China avoid turning orbit into a battleground? Can we avoid it, is the real question. I'm having a hard time seeing it because I think China is planning to make a move. I don't know when, but right now we're just 2 weeks from the calm sea states in the South China Sea. Pray and cross your fingers that China don't make a move here in upcoming October on Taiwan. If they do, these space assets, then our power grids are probably the next things to go. And what do you think? Drop your thoughts below. This is where space meets survival. And guys, you better get your bug out items in order. Get your preps in order. I'm in my bug out zone right here from Mars Base 1 in the high desert of Arizona. Seems like a Mars base when I go out. Anyway, this is Greg Allison with Green Gregs. The stars no longer shine from safe skies. They're zones of intense rivalry and risk. Keep that in mind. Like, subscribe, bang the bell, and share to stay ahead on the ocean wars and space spying arms race. Keep looking up and stay informed. Stay vigilant. Keep your eyes wide open and the head on a swivel. It's coming at us from every angle right now, my friends, right here at home, abroad, in the seas, and in space above. Holy smoke. There's nowhere where we're not contested. So just keep that in mind, my friends. And with that, I'm going to say thank you. Share this video. Thank you for watching.